It's a royal visit, accompanied by members of the Royal Court of Benin and the Board of Trustees of the Benin Royal Museum. Oba of Benin, Ewuare II, is at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. The mission is to thank the President for his intervention in the repatriation of Benin Bronzes, including 2 items recently from the University of Cambridge and the University of Aberdeen.
God's time is the best. Mr. President, sir, for finding time to receive us now, despite your very tight schedule, we all say thank you immensely. Mr. President, I bring warm greetings from the Benin Royal family, the Benin Traditional Institution, and the good people of Edo State within Nigeria and in the diaspora. I'm here with some members of the Royal Court of Benin and of the Board of Trustees of the Benin Royal Museum to thank Your Excellency for your kind intervention as it relates to the issues that borders on the return, repatriation of Benin Bronzes and artifacts to its original place of abode. Mr. President will recall that in June 2021, I paid a quiet private visit to Your Excellency to express concerns about the imminent return of Benin artifacts from Europe and other parts of the world. Your Excellency's response to my concerns then was incisive, supportive, and very encouraging. Later, precisely on the 19th February 2022, 2 famous Benin Bronzes paved the way. They were returned to the Nigerian government by Jesus College, University of Cambridge, and the University of Aberdeen in the United Kingdom. These famous bronzes were officially handed over to me as the custodian of Benin customs and tradition, in line with Your Excellency's kind directive to His Excellency Ambassador Sharafa Tunji Ishola, the Nigerian High Commissioner to the United Kingdom. We deeply appreciate this presidential directive to the Nigerian ambassador to the United Kingdom to personally hand over the bronzes to me in my palace in Benin. I wish to commend the efforts of Ambassador Ishola, ably supported by the Director General, National Commission for Museum and Monuments, NCMM, for diligently carrying out this presidential directive with a high sense of diplomacy and professionalism. The physical handing over ceremony was quite an emotional one for us, Mr. President. To further show Your Excellency's support and commitment to the return of these precious artifacts, the federal government issued a press statement, very strong press statement, shortly after the physical handover ceremony, which clearly indicates that all the federal government, all Benin artifacts outside the country, Nigeria, are subject to repossession by the federal government of Nigeria, and that all such artifacts should be returned to the respective custodian of the custom and traditional institutions where those artifacts originally belonged and were indeed taken from during the pre-colonial era. Mr. President, I dare say that these artifacts, particularly Benin Bronzes and other Benin artifacts, may be likened to the crown jewels of the British monarchy. Nobody could suddenly wake up and attempt to lay claim to their ownership, assuming if they were ever to be successfully taken away by the Romans, who ruled over them at some time in history, and thereafter wished to return them to Britain. I am pleased to inform Your Excellency that shortly after the State House press release, I received a letter from the Smithsonian Institution, which the DG just mentioned, in Washington, D.C., United States of America, clearly in line with the position of the federal government of Nigeria, confirming the ownership of these artifacts. In the letter, it was specifically and unequivocally stated, inter alia, that we, I quote, "We recognize that your great-grandfather, Oba of Benin, and the Benin Kingdom are the cultural and spiritual owners of these traditional artifacts." In the same vein, the Brazilian consulate in Nigeria also wrote a letter recently to me to further buttress the fact that the Royal Court of Benin Kingdom existed as a sovereign authority long before 1897, when the Benin Bronzes and other Benin artifacts were forcibly removed to Britain and auctioned out to art collectors from around the world. This fact is captured in the letter, which stated inter alia, and I quote, "It is in historical record that your ancestral lineage is among the first to recognize the independence of Brazil in 1822, unquote. With the coming into existence of Nigeria, upon independence, the federal government is now the only sovereign authority that can deal with other sovereign authorities based on international law and treaties, international treaties, regarding matters of repatriation of artifacts to Nigeria. Your Excellency, I have always used every available opportunity to pursue the return of our artifacts scattered all over the world, even before my ascension to the throne as the Oba of Benin. I recall with fond memories that during my undergraduate years in the United Kingdom, I was first spurred by the information that I received that many of our bronzes and artifacts were housed in the British Museum. When I later crossed to the United States for my master's and postgraduate training at the United Nations headquarters in New York, I was further exposed to the presence of our artifacts in that country and in Europe, and indeed all over the globe. Thereafter, when I got posted to some of these European countries as an ambassador, Nigerian ambassador, I did not hesitate in to express our desire to have our artifacts returned to be used for setting up of our museum, now to be known as the Benin Royal Museum. This is a journey that started since 1977. Mr. President, we did not relent in spite of our recent challenges, and with Your Excellency's kind intervention, justice is now being seen to be done. We are now seeing the results of the hard work of my grandfather, His Royal Majesty Oba Ewuare II, my father, His Royal Majesty Oba Ewuare II, and now myself, who has been doing my best in building on the legacies of my great forefathers. Today, I am happy to be here with my people to thank Your Excellency immensely for helping us to set the records straight. Today, I'm also proud to be here with members of the Board of Trustees of the Benin Royal Museum, supported by the Royal Court of Benin, to say a big thank you for this kind gesture, which set the stage for the smooth return of the two Benin Bronzes that now heralds the eventual return of all Benin Bronzes and other artifacts back into our possession, albeit under the framework of collaboration between the Royal Court of Benin and the National Commission of Museums and Monuments. May I, at this juncture, commend the efforts of the incumbent DG, Director General of NCMM, Professor Abba Tijani, who is not only collaborating closely with the Royal Court of Benin all this while, but has also further repositioned and brought to the fore the relevance of the NCMM under the Ministry of Information and Culture. The joy of my people at home and in the diaspora knows no bound on the return of the two bronzes and the eventual return of all our artifacts. Again, we say thank you, Mr. President, Your Excellency, Mr. President. May I, at this point, inform Mr. President that we have concluded plans with the NCMM to establish an ultramodern international standard Benin Royal Museum to house these Benin Bronzes and other artifacts for the purpose of preserving our history, tourism, and education. The Benin Royal Museum will be open to the general public for viewing and researchers alike. The Board of Trustees is made up of eminent Nigerians, some of whom are here with me today. May I crave the indulgence of Your Excellency to introduce them very quickly, one by one. Seated on my left is my younger brother, of the same mother, the same father, Prince Atise Irediawa. Next to him, well-known media guru, Prince Nduka Obaigbena, and Madame herself, Ifweko Mwegwi Okao. Sylvester is my son-in-law. Engineer Danieline is from the Guild of Bronze Casters. That's the family that actually responsible for producing these bronzes many hundreds of years ago. And also a member, as I introduced to Your Excellency some time back, that is also, it also comes from the family of bronze casters in the district we call Igueon. They have been in charge under the commission and authority of the Oba of Benin to cast a lot of these bronzes that are now out there. Engineer Hero is here. Engineer Hero's family played a very important role in the history of Benin shortly after the invasion of the British. That I will mention to you privately, Mr. President. Of course, another very eminent member who is not here today is Professor Wole Soyinka. All these people, all of them promptly, on invitation by me to come and join these efforts to promote Nigeria's cultural heritage under the aegis of Benin Royal Museum. All of them, without hesitation, jumped to the call. He accepted the invitation without hesitation. I want to, Mr. President, please have a special mention for Prince Nduka. Has been very helpful So I want to, with your permission, Your Excellency, to say thank you to Prince. I've also adopted him as a Prince of the Kingdom, son of the Kingdom. Mr. President, we hope that at some point, Professor Wole Soyinka will be able to join us in another meeting. But he has been very, very instrumental, also very supportive. Mr. President, I hope when considering certain things for my sake, for the federal government to recognize Prince Nduka, you will do so for my sake, please. He has been very, very helpful. I hereby reassure all Nigerians that the Benin Bronzes and artifacts represent cultural heritage, Nigeria's cultural heritage in particular, and Africa in general. We therefore hold these objects in trust as the original owners in conjunction with National Commission for Museum and Monuments for the benefit of all. We want to reassure Mr. President that the Royal Court of Benin and the National Commission, the NCMM, are working closely to ensure the safe custody, preservation, enhancement of these Benin Bronzes and artifacts, not only for their cultural and economic benefits, but more particularly towards the promotion of the tourism industry in Nigeria. Mr. President, God bless Your Excellency. God bless your entire household. God bless Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Today we are celebrating the return of two antiquities that left the shores of Nigeria about 125 years ago. They were infamously taken away from the ancient Benin Kingdom in a manner that has been described as highly irresponsible by the Vice Chancellor of the University of Aberdeen, one of the institutions in possession of the antiquities. Your Excellency, for more than a century, nations and institutions in possession of our looted artifacts made ingenious claims over these antiquities, claiming rights over them to the exclusion of the actual owners. This position naturally resulted in deep-seated rancor and conflict between the true owners, represented here today by His Royal Majesty, Oba Ewuare II, and the Nigerian nation on the one hand, and the usurpers on the other hand. But Nigeria introduced a unique and unprecedented dimension to the quest for repatriation of the looted artifacts, removing herself from the global conflict surrounding possession, ownership, and control of antiquities, so as not to cause rows between our country and otherwise friendly nations. First, we at an international press conference in 2019 asserted our rights over all Nigerian antiquities wherever they may be. We implored nations, institutions, as well as men and women of goodwill to see the unfairness in the affairs of one body holding on to the cultural property fashioned by the genius of another. Your Excellency, the Minister of Information and Culture and the National Commission for Museums and Monuments also deployed international law and the assistance of Nigerian foreign missions. Today, we are living witnesses to the results of such deployments. One of the first institutions to see our argument was the University of Aberdeen and the University of Cambridge, both in the UK. These institutions distanced themselves from the commonly held position of most institutions and nations and agreed to do what is right by releasing cultural objects that were forcefully removed from the ancient Benin Kingdom. We sincerely commend these institutions and the men and women who worked towards achieving the return of the Benin Bronzes that we are today celebrating. Your Excellency, as a result of our efforts, we are proud to say that other nations, institutions, and bodies have opened lines of discussion with the National Commission for Museums and Monuments on the modalities for returning Nigerian antiquities. To those that are still exercising doubts about releasing these antiquities to us, we urge them to give the issue a second thought. There is no way a Benin bronze forcefully taken from the ancient Benin Kingdom can become the property of a foreign museum. In addition, Your Excellency, to our repatriation efforts, the Ministry of Information and Culture and the National Commission for Museums and Monuments are working towards collaboration with international bodies and institutions so that these antiquities will become cultural ambassadors of not just the Benin Kingdom, but Nigeria as a whole. In doing this, we shall partner with the Benin Royal Palace. We want to most sincerely thank you, Mr. President, for providing us with the political will and the wherewithal to vigorously pursue the return of our artifacts to Nigeria, where they belong. We will not relent until all our pillaged artifacts are brought back home. Your Excellency, once again, I thank you for the privilege.
The President says the government will continue to vigorously pursue the repatriation of looted Nigerian artifacts from abroad, including over 1,000 Benin bronzes in Germany's public museums.
It is widely acknowledged around the world that some of the best Asian arts belong to Nigeria. They include those from Benin, Ife, Nok, and Ugbo Uku. However, many of these beautiful works were illicitly taken away, particularly during the colonial period. These great cultural and artistic works are the records of our history. Nigeria cannot permit these great works to become properties of others. Thus, this administration has made it an important task to ensure the return of these artifacts. In this regard, Nigeria, through the Ministry of Information and Culture, announced at a World Press Conference in October 2019 that the country shall start asserting her rights over all the stolen antiquities of Nigerian origin strewn all over the world, and that Nigeria shall demand for their return. Since then, we have recorded a lot of success in this regard, thanks to a close understanding between the federal government and our highly respected traditional rulers. Because of our determined efforts, Nigeria is now regarded to be in the forefront globally in the struggle to repatriate illicitly exported artifacts back to their countries of origin. Part of the success story is the return by the University of Cambridge and the University of Aberdeen, both in the United Kingdom, of the two very important Benin bronzes that are being presented to me today. I am very delighted to note that the return of these two important Benin bronzes have brought immense goodwill and acclaim to Nigeria and also to the Asian Benin Kingdom. I am very delighted to see the happiness that these efforts have brought to His Majesty Oba Ewuare II, the Oba of Benin. I assure His Majesty that the federal government will continue in this great cause. With his support and that of our traditional rulers, we will get more of these artifacts repatriated to our country. In furtherance to these efforts, an agreement between Nigeria and Germany is currently being prepared. When concluded, it will signify the return to Nigeria by Germany of all the 1,130 Benin Bronzes in Germany's public museums. This will be a monumental achievement. Furthermore, on the 7th of this month, the Glasgow City Council agreed to return 17 Benin Bronzes to Nigeria. The legal issues are in the process of being sorted out. Other success stories include the return by the Netherlands in October 2020 of a 600-year-old Ife terracotta, the return in April 2021 of a bronze piece from Mexico, as well as the repatriation in November 2021 of 2 Benin Bronzes and an Ife bronze had from the Metropolitan Museum, New York. Officials of our National Commission for Museums and Monuments are currently working with Export University, the Great North Museum of Newcastle University, Ford Island School, and numerous other places on the modalities for the return of Nigerian antiquities, particularly the Benin Bronzes, from these places. We look forward to a future when these returned antiquities and our arts and culture shall be deployed in generating revenue for the nation. I am glad to hear that the Ministry of Information and Culture and the National Commission for Museums and Monuments are already working towards this by reaching out to other nations and cultural institutions on traveling exhibitions to showcase the rich culture of Nigeria through these antiquities. This can happen if officials in charge of these priceless artifacts take due care to maintain and preserve these treasures in good condition at all times. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Members of the Board of Trustees of the Benin Royal Museum include Professor Wole Soyinka, Prince Atise Erediawa, and the chairman, THISDAY Arise Media Group, Prince Nduka Obaigbena.
Mr. President, we have many artifacts that are coming to Nigeria, and it's a case for us to look at how, as a professional, sir, we need to look at how we are going to receive these objects and put them in proper use, and also to use them as objects of education, and also as a tourist, attraction where we can generate revenue. And one of the things we are looking at, Mr. President, which the Oba of Benin has also agreed, is travel exhibition of some of these objects, just about 150, that will go around the country, around the world, and will generate hard currency for us. We have an agency that can do that, and it will get millions of dollars from that, because our artifacts are popular and many countries are looking forward to seeing them.
The monarch noted that the Benin Bronzes and artifacts represent the country's cultural heritage and are being held in trust for Nigerians by the Royal Court as the original owners. Adesua Omoruan, Arise News.